It just happened. Silver went in stock. To gone rapidly, dealer confirms. February 14th, the spot price dropped hard. Every textbook said physical silver should flood the market. Premiums should collapse. Dealers should be sitting on inventory they can't move. But when the phone calls started coming in, when customers walked through the doors, the opposite happened. The cases emptied. The small bars, gone. The 1 ounce rounds, vanished. Not in months, not in weeks, in 72 hours. And here's what nobody's talking about. The supply chain didn't break. It revealed something far more dangerous. Welcome to the COMEX Chronicles. If you've been watching markets long enough to remember when a handshake meant something, when a man's word was his bond, then you understand why this channel exists. We don't chase clicks here. We deliver intelligence. So, if you value clarity over noise, if you want to understand what's actually happening before the crowd figures it out, then do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. Consider it your insurance policy against being the last one to know. Now, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching this from today? Because what's unfolding in silver isn't just an American story anymore. The dealer stood behind his counter on February 12th, watching the silver spot price fall like a stone dropping into deep water. By every rule he had learned in 20 years of business, this should have been a quiet week. When prices fall, buyers hesitate. When buyers hesitate, inventory sits. When inventory sits, dealers breathe easy. But something else was happening. The phone started ringing at 9:00 a.m., then it didn't stop. By noon, his display case looked like a crime scene. Empty slots where 1 ounce rounds used to sit. Bare shelves where 10 ounce bars were stacked that morning. The small silver, the pieces regular people actually buy, had vanished. He called his supplier. "How fast can you restock me?" The answer made him pause. 2 weeks, maybe 3. We're backed up. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this, not this fast. Across the country, the same story was repeating itself. A shop in Texas that had been trying to move inventory for weeks suddenly couldn't keep anything in stock. A dealer in Arizona watched customers buy everything he had, then ask when the next shipment was coming. A coin show in the Midwest turned into a feeding frenzy, with buyers walking away empty-handed because they waited an hour too long. The pattern was clear. The silver spot price had dropped nearly 5% in a matter of days, and instead of cooling demand, it ignited something else entirely. Here's what makes this moment critical. For months, silver had been climbing. The price went higher and higher, and as it climbed, something predictable happened. People sold. They walked into shops with bags of coins. They brought in old family collections. They liquidated positions they had held for years. The dealers were flooded with supply. But the buyers? They stepped back. They looked at the higher price tags and thought, "I'll wait." So the dealers sat on inventory they couldn't move fast enough. The market felt heavy. Then the price corrected, and everything flipped. The buyers who had been waiting weren't waiting anymore. They saw the price drop and felt something shift inside them. This was the moment. This was the entry point they had been looking for. This was the dip everyone talks about buying. So they acted. They called. They drove across town. They walked in with cash ready. And they bought everything. Not just a few pieces. Everything they could carry. But here's the part that reveals the deeper problem. The dealer couldn't just refill his shelves overnight, because the silver market doesn't work like a grocery store. There are 3 different layers, and they don't move at the same speed. At the bottom, there's raw silver, big industrial bars, unrefined material, the stuff that sits in vaults and gets traded between institutions. In the middle, there's fabricated product. And the mints, the refineries, the companies that turn raw silver into coins and rounds and small bars. At the top, there's retail inventory, the actual pieces sitting in dealer cases, ready to sell. When the buying wave hit, It drained the top layer in days. But the middle layer, that takes weeks to produce more. And the bottom layer, it exists, but it's locked in the wrong form. You can't just melt down a 1,000-ounce industrial bar and instantly turn it into 1-ounce rounds. That requires capacity, equipment, time. So the dealer stood there, watching customers ask for products he didn't have. And when they asked when he'd get more, he couldn't give them a firm answer because his suppliers were telling him the same thing. We're working on it, but everyone's backed up. This is not a story about silver running out. This is a story about something more dangerous. It's about the gap between what exists and what's available. It's about the difference between there's silver somewhere and you can buy silver today. It's about a market structure that looks solid until it gets tested. And when it got tested on February 12th, it revealed a fragility that most people didn't know existed. The price fell, the inventory vanished, and the supply chain couldn't keep up. The dealer looked at his empty case. He had silver on order, but his customers didn't want promises. They wanted metal. And for the first time in months, he couldn't give it to them. The paradox was complete. Silver got cheaper, but harder to find. And that contradiction is where the real story begins. The mint supervisor received the call at 6:47 a.m. It was a distributor, one of the big ones. "We need to triple our regular order. Can you do it?" The supervisor looked at the production schedule pinned to the wall, every slot already filled, every press already running, every employee already on shift. "I can get you what we agreed on," he said. "But triple? That's going to take time." The distributor went quiet for a moment. Then he said something the supervisor would remember for weeks. "Everyone's calling. Everyone wants the same thing. Small product. 1-ounce rounds, 10-ounce bars, and they all want it yesterday." The supervisor hung up and stared at the machinery. This wasn't a supply problem. This was a format problem. Somewhere in the Midwest, a warehouse sat with 200,000 ounces of silver. But nobody wanted it because it wasn't in 1-ounce rounds. It was in 100-ounce bars, big, heavy, industrial grade. The kind of silver that serious buyers used to love because the premium was lower. But now, customers walked past it like it didn't exist. They wanted small pieces. Pieces they could hold in one hand, pieces they could sell one at a time if needed, pieces that felt manageable. The warehouse manager tried explaining it to his boss. "Sir, we have the metal. We just don't have it in the shape people want." His boss didn't understand. "Then reshape it, melt it down, send it to a refinery." The manager shook his head. "That takes weeks. By the time we get it back as small bars, this wave might be over, or it might be worse. We don't know." Across town, a coin shop owner was having a different conversation. A customer stood at the counter, frustrated. "You're telling me you have no silver?" The owner pointed to the back room. "I have silver. I have 400 ounces sitting back there right now." The customer's eyes lit up. "Great, I'll take it." The owner hesitated. "It's all in 100-ounce bars. You want 4 bars?" The customer's face changed. "No, I wanted rounds. 10 of them, maybe 20. The owner nodded slowly. "That's what everyone wants, and that's what I don't have. This is where the breakdown lives, not in some distant mine, not in some government vault. Right here, in the space between what exists and what people will actually buy. Silver didn't disappear. It just refused to transform fast enough. The refinery in Nevada was running at full capacity, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They were pouring bars as fast as the equipment allowed, but the orders kept piling up. A distributor called asking for 5,000 1-ounce rounds. "Best I can do is 3 weeks," the refinery manager said. "3 weeks? I need them now. My dealers are calling me every hour." The manager understood the frustration, but understanding doesn't change physics. "Listen," he said carefully, "we can only pour so much silver per day, and right now, everyone wants the same products. We're not sitting around. We're maxed out." The distributor hung up and called another refinery. Same answer. Then another. Same answer. The bottleneck wasn't a conspiracy. It was capacity. Meanwhile, the dealers were making a different calculation. A shop owner in Pennsylvania checked the spot price at 10:15 a.m. He gave a customer a quote. By 10:22, the price had moved. Not a little. A lot. He refreshed his screen. and realized the quote he gave 7 minutes ago was already outdated, so he called the customer back. "I need to adjust the price." The customer wasn't happy. "You already gave me a number." "I know, but the market moved. If I lock that old price and it keeps moving, I lose money." The customer argued. The owner held firm. Because here's what most buyers don't see. When a dealer quotes a price, he's making a promise, but that promise is only safe if the market stays still. When the market moves like it's being chased, promises become dangerous. Some dealers stopped giving quotes altogether. "Come in, bring cash. We'll tell you the price when you're standing here." Others required full payment up front. No locks, no holds, no exceptions. It sounds harsh, but it's survival. Because in the last wave, 3 dealers got burned. Customers locked orders. Prices moved against them, and the customers disappeared. The dealers were left holding metal they had purchased at higher prices, trying to sell it into a falling market. That mistake doesn't get made twice. So the system tightened, policies hardened, premiums widened, not because dealers got greedy, because the risk got real. When you can't replace what you sell, you charge more for what you have. When you can't trust a quote will hold, you shorten the window. When customers vanish after locking orders, you demand payment up front. The market didn't break. It just became honest. And honesty, in a volatile market, is expensive. By the end of the week, the pattern was undeniable. Small silver products, gone or delayed. Large silver bars, available but unwanted. Premiums, rising despite falling spot price. Lead times, stretching from days to weeks. The machinery of retail silver had jammed, not because the metal ran out, but because the form people wanted couldn't be produced fast enough. And that gap between desire and delivery is where the next part of this story gets dangerous. The solar panel factory in California runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, no holidays, no breaks, no slowdowns. Every single panel that rolls off the line contains silver. Not much, but enough. And when you're producing panels by the millions, not much becomes a lot. The purchasing manager for the factory doesn't care about spot price dips. He doesn't care about premiums. He doesn't care if retail buyers are panicking. He cares about one thing, keeping the line moving, because if the line stops, the losses are catastrophic. So when his silver supplier called with a delayed shipment, he didn't negotiate. He paid extra. He secured an alternate source. He did whatever it took. Because in his world, there's no option to wait for a better price. This is the part of the silver story most people never see. While retail buyers are hunting for 1-ounce coins, industrial users are consuming silver by the ton. And they're not stopping. They can't stop. A data center in Texas is being built right now. The electrical infrastructure inside it requires silver, miles of silver-bearing components. The construction company ordered the materials months ago, but the timeline is tight. If those materials don't arrive on schedule, the entire project delays. Penalties get triggered. Contracts get violated. Millions of dollars evaporate. So the procurement team doesn't wait. They don't shop around for deals. They lock supply, regardless of price. An automotive manufacturer in Michigan is ramping up electric vehicle production. Every vehicle uses silver in multiple systems. Electrical contacts, battery management, charging infrastructure. The company has commitments to dealers, pre-orders from customers, production targets that must be met. So when their silver supplier warns of tightness in the market, the company responds immediately. They increase their forward orders. They expand their approved vendor list. They build inventory buffers. Because in manufacturing, uncertainty is the enemy, and the cost of running out is far higher than the cost of paying up. Here's what makes this moment different from previous silver squeezes. In 2008, industrial demand was falling. The financial crisis crushed manufacturing activity. Silver demand from industry dropped off a cliff. So when retail buyers rushed in, there was slack in the system. Refineries could pivot. Mints could ramp up. The industrial side wasn't competing for the same material. Every solar installation requires silver, and the industry has spent years trying to reduce silver content per panel. They've succeeded somewhat. Each panel uses less silver than it did 5 years ago, but the number of panels being produced has exploded. So total silver consumption, still rising. The electric vehicle transition isn't slowing down. Major automakers have announced phase-outs of combustion engines. Every EV requires more silver than a traditional car. Charging infrastructure requires silver. Grid upgrades to support electrification require silver. The demand curve only points one direction. The data center boom isn't slowing down. Artificial intelligence requires massive computing power. That computing power requires data centers. Those data centers require electrical infrastructure built with silver. Companies are racing to build capacity, and they're not waiting for silver to get cheaper. A mining executive was asked in a private meeting last month, if silver prices spike, can you increase production quickly? He laughed, not because it was funny, because the question revealed a fundamental misunderstanding. Do you know how long it takes to open a new silver mine? He asked. The room went quiet. 7 to 10 years, minimum. That's if you find a deposit, if you get permits, if you secure financing, if nothing goes wrong. He leaned forward. And here's the other thing. Most silver doesn't come from silver mines. It comes from copper mines, lead mines, zinc mines. We get silver as a byproduct, someone interrupted. So if silver prices go up, doesn't that incentivize more production? The executive shook his head. Oh, only if copper prices justify opening a copper mine. Only if lead prices justify expanding a lead operation. Silver is along for the ride. It doesn't drive the decision. The room absorbed that reality. If industrial users need more silver, and mines can't respond quickly, and retail buyers are competing for the same material, then something has to give, and what gives is availability. A refinery manager explained it differently. We get silver from 3 sources: primary mines, byproduct from base metal mining, and recycling. He pulled up a chart. Primary mines, declining globally. Byproduct, tied to other metals. Recycling, it helps, but it's not a magic solution. Someone asked why recycling couldn't fill the gap. Because, he said slowly, recycling gives us raw material, but we still have to refine it, process it, turn it into something usable, and that takes capacity we're already using. He pointed to another chart. Look at this. Global silver consumption has exceeded new mine supply in multiple recent years. We've been drawing down above-ground stocks. But there's still silver in vaults, someone said. Yes, there is. But that silver isn't sitting in a retail shop waiting for customers. It's in institutional vaults, ETF holdings, strategic reserves, industrial stockpiles. It's locked up. A commodities analyst was reviewing the data when something clicked. For decades, silver was viewed primarily as a monetary metal, an investment, a store of value, a hedge. And when investors panic, they buy. But when they calm down, they sell. That created a rhythm, waves of buying, waves of selling, supply and demand balanced over time. But now, the industrial side has grown so large that it acts as a floor. Investors can sell, but manufacturers can't. They need the silver. They use it. They destroy it. It doesn't come back into the market. The analyst realized something uncomfortable. Every year, more silver is being consumed in ways that remove it from circulation, and every year, the retail market is fighting over a shrinking pool of available material. Back at the solar factory, the line keeps running. Back at the data center construction site, installation continues. Back at the automotive plant, EV production stays on schedule. None of them are waiting for retail buyers to calm down. None of them are waiting for premiums to normalize. They're buying what they need, when they need it, and that reality changes everything. Because when retail demand surges, it's not just competing with other retail buyers anymore. It's competing with an industrial machine that never stops. The investment analyst sat in his office reviewing patterns. 3 screens in front of him, each one showing a different silver shortage event. He wasn't looking for similarities. He was looking for differences. And what he found made him stop scrolling. In 2008, the retail silver shortage lasted months. Buyers panicked, dealers ran out, premiums exploded. But eventually, the wave passed. Mints caught up. Buyers exhausted themselves. The market normalized. In 2020, the shortage came faster. Pandemic fear, currency concerns, lockdown psychology. The retail channel jammed, but within weeks, not months. Now, in 2025, something changed. The cycle compressed again, from in stock to sold out in 72 hours. The analyst leaned back. The pattern wasn't just repeating, it was accelerating. A coin shop owner in Ohio noticed something else. After the 2020 shortage, his customer base changed. New faces appeared, younger buyers, people who had never touched physical silver before. They bought during the panic, then disappeared when it ended. But 6 months ago, they started coming back. Not all of them, but enough. And this time, they weren't asking beginner questions. They were asking about premiums, lead times, product availability. They had learned. The owner realized what was happening. Every shortage event educates a new group of buyers. And those buyers don't forget. They remember what it felt like to want silver and not be able to get it. So the next time the price dips, they move faster. They don't hesitate. They don't wait to see if it goes lower. They buy immediately because they learned the cost of waiting. A wholesaler explained it to his sales team. The market is training buyers to panic. Someone asked what he meant. Think about it, he said. Every time there's a price drop and a shortage, buyers who waited get punished. Buyers who acted fast get rewarded. He pulled up a chart. That creates a feedback loop. The next dip triggers faster buying. Faster buying creates faster shortages. And faster shortages train even more buyers to panic sooner. The room went quiet. So what you're saying, someone finally asked, is that each cycle makes the next cycle worse? The wholesaler nodded. Not worse, faster, more intense, harder to predict. This is what serious operators are watching now, not just whether silver is available, but how long it takes for availability to return. In 2020, retail supply normalized within 8 weeks, mints ramped up, premiums cooled, inventory returned. But this time, the delays are different. Lead times that used to be days are now weeks. Products that used to restock quickly now carry extended wait periods. And the question nobody can answer yet, is this temporary or structural? A risk manager at a financial firm was building a model. He wasn't interested in silver as an investment. He was interested in silver as a signal. If a commodity market can freeze this fast, he told his team, what does that say about liquidity in other markets? The team looked confused. He continued, silver is supposed to be liquid, traded globally, accessible, fungible. If buyers can't get physical silver during a price dip, what happens when they can't get other things? Someone mentioned that silver is a small market. Exactly, the manager said. It's small, which means it's a canary. It shows stress before bigger markets do. He pointed to his screen. We're not just watching silver, and we're watching what happens when confidence in paper pricing breaks down. When people want the physical thing, not the derivative, not the ETF, not the futures contract, the actual metal. The implications spread wider than most people realize. A logistics company noticed shipping delays for small parcels of precious metals. An insurance underwriter saw policy applications for vault storage spike. A security firm received inquiries about transporting high-value commodities. None of these are front-page stories, but together they paint a picture. The physical commodity supply chain is under stress, and that stress is showing up in unusual places. A manufacturing consultant was advising a client. The client produced components for the renewable energy sector. They used silver in their process. We've always ordered silver on a just-in-time basis, the client explained. Why would we tie up capital and inventory? The consultant pulled out recent market data. Because just-in-time assumes supply is reliable. What if it's not? The client hesitated. Are you saying we should stockpile? I'm saying, the consultant replied carefully, that the cost of running out might now exceed the cost of holding extra inventory. The client did the math. 2 weeks later, they doubled their silver inventory buffer. They weren't alone. Across industries that depend on silver, procurement strategies are shifting. Companies that never worried about supply are building reserves. Buyers who always negotiated for the lowest price are now prioritizing reliability. Contracts that used to focus on cost are now focused on guaranteed delivery. This isn't panic. This is adaptation. And adaptation changes market structure. A derivatives trader noticed something odd. The spread between silver futures and physical delivery was widening. Not dramatically, but consistently. This used to be tight, he told a colleague. Why is it diverging? The colleague pulled up historical data. Because people are learning that paper and physical aren't the same thing anymore. The trader understood immediately. You can trade a futures contract instantly, but taking delivery? That's a different game now. Delays, logistics, verification, storage. The friction between paper and physical was becoming measurable, and that friction carried a cost. An entrepreneur saw an opportunity. If retail buyers are struggling to find small format silver, and if delays are becoming normal, then the market needs better infrastructure. He started building a business plan, authenticated storage, fractional ownership, instant liquidity for physical holders. He wasn't the only one. Across the country, small companies were emerging to solve the gaps. Some would succeed, most would fail. But the fact that they were trying meant something. It meant the problem was real enough to attract capital. Back in the coin shop, the owner was thinking long term. This isn't the last shortage, he told his partner. You think it'll happen again? I know it will. The pattern is clear. And each time, it'll happen faster. His partner asked what they should do differently. We stop chasing premiums. We focus on relationships. We build trust with suppliers who can actually deliver. And we educate customers before the next wave hits. The partner nodded slowly. So you're saying the business model is changing? It already changed, the owner replied. Most people just haven't noticed yet. The analyst closed his screens. He'd seen enough. The retail silver shortage of February 2025 wasn't an anomaly. It was a preview of markets where liquidity disappears faster than anyone expects, a preview of supply chains that can't absorb sudden demand, a preview of a world where available and accessible are no longer the same thing. And for those paying attention, this preview is a warning, because next time the window might be even shorter, the delays might be even longer, and the cost of hesitation might be permanent.